It is the Behemoth type from Medarot 4 that focuses on ultimate neutrality across all terrains and bringing on the pain with heavy foes. It is BHM00 Chi-Behemoth with a kit of Stat Cleanse, Double Break, Tank Legs, and the leg ability of Heavy Arms, which buffs all leg stats, minus armor and heavy limit for every heavy part equipped across the build. Now, Chi-Behemoth was an event reward from a fair bit of time ago, and even as a free model, actually offered a pretty fair number of skills that made him definitely one of the better event rewards granted up to this point, even for those that have him or have not raised him, or even folks that are coming around, say, during an anniversary event where they may rerun it again as part of a special banner. Stat Cleanse is a healing-based skill and always openly welcome across any team, that, when used, will remove any and all negative status ailments from himself and all allies, and in addition to this, also render them all immune to ailments a certain number of times relative to the part rank. Break is a shooting-based skill and a gravity attribute-based one at that, meaning it'll get a damage, but it'll be getting a success bonus relative to the charge in your Metaforce gauge, and in addition to this, it is also widely known and loved for its ability and natural talent of Heavy Punish, which means if it is damaging a foe that is using 2 or more heavy parts, such as, say, Cross Messiah, God Emperor, Metal Eater, or more or less any kind of major boss type in general, it is going to be absolutely laying on the pain and making every hit not only land, but also be as painful as legitimately possible, minus any kind of damage bonuses that might also come in. And in addition to this, Break is also very good because of the bonus to success that it also grants with your Metaforce gauge, which means if you time it right with a Heavy Punish as well as high Metaforce charge, you're already going to be having a very high chance of hitting with a success bonus, but as a reminder, success is also tied not only with your likelihood of landing the hit, but also of course landing a critical hit on top of that. The tank legs in particular, even though I tend to grade them somewhat harshly depending on the model in particular, Chi-Behemoth actually takes a pretty fair number of the weaknesses tank legs do possess and kind of spins them around in his favor, making him definitely one of the better and more sought after models if you're forced to use tank legs in any kind of situation, such as, say, an EX trial, for instance, or a modifier. For that reason, the tank legs, even if they have very low stats at base, it's honestly the Heavy Arms ability that does redeem a lot of what holds Chi-Behemoth back, as granted all 3 of his parts are heavy, which means he's going to be capitalizing on that bonus very easily and very quickly right from square one when the battle starts, which will comp a lot of his overall innate weaknesses just by being on the field as is. However, despite all these things working toward Chi-Behemoth in this case, he also is not without a lot of glaring weaknesses that he himself is also weak to and really cannot be forgiven or even countered in some cases. And primarily the fact that even though he is absolutely a master when it comes to Heavy Punish, he himself is also massively susceptible to it as one who is using triple heavy in this case. And because of this, even if say Break or Stat Cleanse are both widely accepted and always openly welcome parts on any build, because they are heavy parts, it does force you to have to take that into consideration when putting together your team build if you want to, say, keep damage low from anyone that wants to use Heavy Punish against you. In addition to this, even if Chi-Behemoth's arms of Break do have a higher base damage and higher armor because they are heavy parts, that's honestly kind of where the advantage for them ends. And same case with Stat Cleanse, where it is a wonderful part to use and always openly welcomed, but similar to Gentle Heart as well, because it is a heavy part, it does make fitting it into a team somewhat tricky if you're trying to be mindful of your heavy limit. For these reasons, I do honestly have to rate Chi-Behemoth a pretty solid 5.5 out of 10, and in some cases, some arguments might even be made for a 6 out of 10, primarily for the fact that what Chi-Behemoth is good at, he actually is very solid at. The Heavy Arms ability honestly does forgive a lot of the innate weaknesses that tank legs usually possess, and even by himself before Heavy Arms even comes into the picture. Because he is a tank-legged model, he is also packing a lot of innate damage, passive damage reductions that do stack alongside any others that may come into play. And then of course add Heavy Arms, which will buff naturally his shoot and melee resist even higher, which means you're going to be hard pressed to take this monster down moderately with any kind of ease, especially if you're trying to use heavy parts to nuke him quickly. As mixed parts, on the other hand, I do have to rate him higher at a 6 out of 10. given, like I said, his tank legs are definitely some of the better and more sought after ones if you are forced to use tank legs at all. And of course, break and stat cleanse are always openly welcomed across any team that is in need of them for heavy punish or ailment negation, just as long as you can mind the fact and you acknowledge the fact that using his parts will cost you a heavy slot on whoever you choose to use them on.